Good morning, 7th graders. Hope you're all doing fabulously and having a fantastic superhero day as part of our virtual spirit week. Yay, superheroes. Speaking of superheroes, we're going to start looking into the drafting of the Declaration of Independence, how it was proposed, how it was set up, and then some of the inspirations that led into its creation. So today, first, we're going to analyze the factors that led to the formation of the Committee of Five and the choice of T. Jeffs, Tommy J., the Tej, Thomas Jefferson, to be the Declaration of Independence's principal writer. Then we're going to look at a role that an English philosopher, John Locke, had to shape Jefferson's perspective on a lot of things that come into be in the Declaration of Independence. One is the social contract theory. Another is natural rights. So those are two key ideas that I want you to be able to explain. So here we see five gentlemen. They're looking, they're talking, they're editing, they're thinking. Probably didn't look like that when it actually happened, but it's a nice painting. Lead up to the Declaration of Independence. So the Continental Congress had been stalemated for months over the issue of independency. After the Olive Branch Petition, after Common Sense, we see that the public is now leaning more that way. That's no longer three-thirds split up. That we see more now defense sitters are leaning towards the Patriots and supporting independence. And it's not until Richard Henry Lee is able to deliver the Virginia Resolution, which is the state, at this point, the colony of Virginia declares itself to be a state. Declares itself to be free of independent and independent of British rule. And then says that the rest of the other states should as well, and they should form some sort of confederation or government together. And why is it a big deal? Well, because it's Virginia. It's not Massachusetts. It's not New England. It's not the people. Where the Patriots and the Sons of Liberty, where all the troubles began. It's a Virginian, and Virginia, as you look at the history of the American Revolution, is turned to take the lead on many things. It's no shock when, after we win our independence and eventually set up a successful government, that 4 of the first 5 presidents will be from Virginia. That the person they choose to lead the Continental Army will be from Virginia. The person that takes the lead in writing the U.S. Constitution, Virginia. Virginia, if Virginia is willing to do it, then the other states are willing to follow. Why? Virginia is the oldest, the biggest, and the wealthiest of the colonies. They got the most swag, so they have a lot of sway. Debate is raging on whether or not to adopt the Virginia Resolution, and they realize they don't have all 13 colonies ready to vote on it. And there's a motion to make it that if we're going to be declare independence, it has to be a unanimous vote. That no state can be forced into declaring independence. So everyone that votes has to say yes. So to get some more time, Adams and Franklin, who are kind of the juggernauts pushing for independence in the debates in the Continental Congress, they asked for time to draft a formal document explaining the reasons why America is breaking away from England, to be presented to the people and presented to the world. John Hancock, the president, gives them permission to make that committee, and that committee is designed to have a reflection of all 3 regions. You have from New York, Robert Livingston; from Connecticut, Roger Sherman. So you have the Mid-Atlantic and the New England states. Then you have Benjamin Franklin, the the rock star of the Continental Congress, probably the most recognizable American next to George Washington. Then you have John Adams, who's been the spearhead for independence. And lastly, they need a Southerner, and they call to Thomas Jefferson to be part of the committee to draft a formal Declaration of Independence. And his main idea is to explain to the world, why are we breaking with England? Well, Tommy Jeffs was the youngest member of the Continental Congress. He was only 33, and he was very reluctant to be chosen. Jefferson, as a politician, was not one for speeches and self-aggrandizement. He did most of his debate and his writing with the pen, which is probably one of the reasons why he was chosen, because he's such a great writer. He has been, as far as writing and in essay form, a renowned critic of the British government. He's also a great thinker. Jefferson is one of the smartest people in America at that point. And he is not only a great political thinker and writer, he is just talented in so many ways. He's what you would call a polymath, somebody who's a genius in many different areas. He's an expert musician. He could be a orchestra level violinist. He is one of the most accomplished scientific minds. He is an expert in biology, botany, zoology. He's an expert in diplomacy, can speak multiple languages. He is just all around amazing. Oh, an inventor, an engineer, an architect. He does it all. But what he doesn't want to be is having a big public eye on him, that he's the one that is writing this document that everyone's going to be looking at, and then in turn, everyone will be looking at him and paying attention to him. But because he's from Virginia, because he's got such a great writing style, Adams and Franklin pretty much say, no, you have to do it. And they kind of strong arm him into it. And in the end, Adams and Franklin will help with the final editing of the document that is presented to Congress. You can see little notes and little ideas of them throughout it. For example, the beginning line, "We hold these truths to be self-evident." It initially said, "We hold these truths to be sacred and undeniable." Franklin thought that it should be more of a secular document, non-religious, and he was the one who changed it to self-evident. We hold these truths to be common sense. So where does Jefferson get a lot of his ideas from? And that's where the chapter reading you got into really explored quite a bit. And Jefferson, if you look, you can see that him and, I had to mute it there, it'll just keep dinging, and Benjamin Franklin, two Americans, are both considered thinkers of the Enlightenment. And Jefferson is greatly shaped and influenced by the writers of the Enlightenment. This is a period of just expansive reading and innovation, where the scientific method that was designed by Isaac Newton is seen as a way that you can apply those same scientific principles to humanity, to society, to government, to everything, that you can improve the world, you can enlighten the world with this exploration of knowledge in this new method. And Jefferson's influenced by a lot of the people whom you see all shaped there. But one of the ones that really impacts Jefferson, especially in the writing of the Declaration of Independence, is this guy, John Locke. This handsome fella was an economic and political philosopher in England that was mostly active in the late 1600s. And he really explored the ideas of what is the purpose of government, why does government exist, and the ideas of what are human rights. To this end, there's two big ideas that we can see when we start delving into the words of the Declaration of Independence, where you can really see John Locke's fingerprints. One of them is the social contract theory. Basically, that government is a contract with itself and the people. You know what a contract is. I often have you guys make contracts with your groups when you're doing cooperative assignments. It's an agreement that often involves an exchange of promises that you say, all right, I'm making a commitment to you that if you do this, I'll do this, and it's binding. Businesses form a contract. All right, if I do this for you, you'll pay me this amount. Marriages is actually a form of a contract. It's a legally binding agreement, an exchange of promises. Key ideas in this is that the only reason that a government exists is because the people give it permission to exist. Jefferson describes this idea as governments only exist by the consent of the governed, that the people give the right for the government to exist. In exchange of this, the people get order and protection of their rights and their lives. Why would the people allow a government that is very powerful, can tax them, can send them to war, all the different powers that a government has? Why would the people allow a government to exist in the first place? It's because you get certain things. You get order, you get justice, and you get protection of your rights. And Jefferson especially holds on to that idea that the main reason why government exists is to protect the people's rights. And Locke held on that if a government attacks the people's rights, if the government breaks the contract, then the people have the right to get a new government, to establish a new government, to abolish the old one and put in place a new one. So if the government no longer is protecting you, protecting your rights, if the government is acting as a tyranny, then you have the right to say, well, I'm firing you to the government. Now, this is a very novel idea because, well, this is a time period of kings. Throughout history, for the most part, we've seen rule of one over many with absolute power. That the government exists to control the people, not that the people exist to control the government. This is a fundamental shift in ideas. And it's kind of an illustration I found on the interwebs that explains that idea that the contract exists between the people and the government. And the people give power to the government. In exchange, the government protects the people's rights. If the government misuses power, then the people have the right to replace the government or to overthrow it. They have the right to revolt.